Mikurobio, that is in the Aja language, greetings to all. Aja is often called Fong Bei. We've did videos on this, done videos on this showing where Fong Bei or Fong is a subgroup of the overall Aja people. So, Mikurobi, I want to speak to you about a term and a real place in Benin Republic, southern Benin Republic, in this case, west Benin Republic, called Zomaa. Zomaa, the place where the fire does not go, the place where the fire is not. Some even say the place where the fire dares not go, but that's not really in the direct wording of the translation of the word. Zomaa, Zomaa. Zo means fire in the Aja language, or what we call Ajagbe. Ma is negation, and it's an implication word that the fire is not. So this place was created for where the fire is not supposed to be. But now here's the thing: what is the fire? In Vodun, in Aja culture, in Vodun in particular, little technical difficulty here. Just a second. And we know some people at Gunlodo is going to say we may be giving away a little too much information, taking into account all of the plagiarists we've been finding out about plagiarizing our work, using our work, but presenting the information to people as if it's theirs, like they study deeply with these elders and study the language deeply, to get the information. But we want to speak on this because it's very, very important. It's a very, very important historical thing that all New Africans need to know. In particular, those that descend from those people that were on the Clotilda that came, the so-called slave ship that came to Mobile, Alabama in 1860. So, Zo is fire. In Vodun, it is said that the soul is made of fire. You hear people say, well, where's your fire at? That kind of thing, right? They're talking about the soul, really, but they don't know it. They don't know that's really, they're coming from that African concept. The only way Europeans know about it, when they were many of them realized Christianity wasn't the ticket. And so they started getting into alchemy, which when you break alchemy down, it's a combination of an Arabic word with the al with chem, Kemet, ancient so-called Egypt. So, fire, Zo. The place Zomaa is in southeast Wydah. Look it up on the map. I don't have all the technology that a lot of other people do. I could do it, but that's just extra. We feel like people could look stuff up. I could have something that just popped up and just said Wydah just then, and it show you a map. Let's get back into researching, people. Let's get back to the days when we used to go to the library. If at least you're not going to the library, don't let everything just be handed to you. So look up Wydah, Wydah. That is the European name, bastardization of the word Wydah, Hweda, which was the name of the monarchy, so-called kingdom. The city that is now called Wydah is actually Glehwe, right? House of Fields. They bastardized the name of the monarchy, which was Wydah, pre-colonialism, and they took the name of the monarchy and put it on the name of the city, Glehwe, and then they, of course, as we said, bastardized. Wydah became Wydah. In Portuguese, it became Ajuda. And many enemies of African culture are using that to say that this was the kingdom of Judah in West Africa. No, that's a Portuguese word. Anyway, so this is in southeast. We've been to this place, Zomaa, where the fire does not go. Now, why is it called that? This is the place, one of the last times our ancestors would see Mawufe. Mawufe is the Ajai word for Africa. Well, one of the Ajai words for Africa. It's the one we most commonly use at Gunlodo and in our circles. This would be the last time. So these the evildoer Africans that were involved in the captivity trade used the area in Zomaa. Well, use Zomaa in general, and we're gonna have to back up in a second, to do this pseudo false ritual of forgetting. There was a tree in Zomaa. The tree is still there. There were actually several trees, but it's just one there now. And they would cause the Africans to circle around this tree 7 to 9 times. 7 for women, 9 for men. Or we should say 7 for females and 9 for males. So the ritual was for them to walk counterclockwise around this tree this amount of time while these people were these so-called priests in the tradition, Vodun, and also white folks as onlookers, they were doing these rituals. Where the whites weren't doing the rituals, they were just onlookers. They made up to make these people souls forget where they came from. But in particular, these rituals was designed for these people not to come back, reincarnate, and come back and do something to them people at any given point, 200 years later, whatever. So it was designed for them to forget who they were, right? Hence, Zomaa, Zo, where the fire does not go. Meaning, they're taking the fire, they're taking your soul. The soul is called Set. We know we're giving a lot of information now. It's going to be some plagiarists running around here using the word Set as if they've been using it 20 years. And if you just check their videos and you look at ours, you won't see them say up until probably a certain point. Look at the dates and stuff. Then you'll see what we've been talking about. But this is for those that really want to know. So they did the pseudo ritual. Now let's back up. This is a quarter of Wydah, right? A section. Zomaa actually was created by the infamous so-called slave trader, captive trader, Felix de Sousa, who was a Portuguese person who once lived in Brazil. He was captive trading over there with Africans from Dahomey. It was called Dahomey then, from Ajay land. Then we believe he was kicked out of Brazil. So he came and set up shop in Benin. He had the patronage of sellout so-called kings like Glele and Gezo, right? So they gave him free reign to do what he wanted to do because these Negro kings were profiting from the capture and sale of our ancestors. This is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, and we'll get to that too. One of the primary officiants of this Zomaa ritual would be a person with the title of Dagbo. Look that up, D-A-G-B-O or D-A-A-G-B-O. Don't know exactly how that's going to come out on which one you'll get better results with. But we'll tell you, anybody from Mobile looking at this, if you've been to the Juneteenth festival, the guy with the big dunce hat has African motifs on it, but it's really a big, like a top hat. We call it a dunce hat. We don't know why they wear that hat. It's supposed to be the hat he wears that shows his authority. They got that from the French, so I don't know what's that about. But anyway, that guy that was there at the Juneteenth last in the European year of 2019, he is a Dagbo. He's a descendant of those people that were doing those rituals. Now he's going around apologizing and for his people putting our people into captivity and whatnot, and asking people to come home to Benin, all of this. The problem with that is they have an open door policy for white people too. So you're really doing the same thing that you were doing back in the day. You still selling us out. So apology not accepted. So Zomaa, the place where the fire did not go. Now, many of the people that were on the clotilda, all of the people that were on the clotilda, they were embarked from Wydah. Once again, southwest Benin Republic, not the city of Benin that is in Nigeria. They, all 100, some people say it was 109, some people say it was 129, but all of them would have had to go through the suffering of that ritual, then be put on what is called a huntal. A huntal is a boat, like a canoe, but a big canoe. It's a big canoe. That's what it is. They put them on there to take them out to the ship. And this is what a lot of our people don't know. The ships never really were all the way in on the ports. They had, because of the shallowness of the water outside of West Africa, these big ships, especially at that time, could not come all the way up to the land. So they would park literally 2 to sometimes 5 miles out. Now imagine, your ancestors, they already been beaten, they've been held in prisons already in Africa in cells, makeshift cells called gan, right? They've been held, beaten, walked a long ways, feet messed up, everything, get put on this junto or this canoe, and then they gotta ride out 2-3 miles, sometimes 5, to don't nowhere, meaning don't know where they're going, right? And then they're put on this ship. Now at this time, for the most part, they're seeing faces that look like them. This is the hard reality that a lot of our people don't want to face. Hence you have statements like, well, the Europeans came and snatched us up. No. They couldn't do that without cooperation. By the way, those junto, those canoes, were owned by the monarchy. So they provided the transportation out to the crackers' ships, sea ships. Imagine that. Now, we want to get into something we was going to a little later. Get into it right now. Some people may be watching this and say, well, if I shouldn't practice Christianity because the white man brought it to me, and Islam because the Arabs brought it to me, well, why should I practice African tradition if these people were involved? And show the difference between African traditions with the concept of captivity and biblical. It's real simple. Biblical traditions provide the actual framework. They tell you to go capture slaves, destroy these people because they don't believe in this God, Katawakata. They have rules for slavery. If you're a Jewish slave, you get treated more like a servant. If you're from another ethnicity or whatever, then it's free for all. In Vodun, there is nothing that says anything like that okays captivity. Nothing. In Isheshe of the Yoruba people, nothing. Period. So these people who were involved in the captivity and sale of your ancestors had lost their way. This is not Vodun. So don't throw, as they say, throw out the baby with the bathwater, all that. Kind of an overused term. But Vodun is the tradition. Your culture is your culture. Your culture did not create captivity. Your culture did not even agree with captivity. Some people say, well, they sold prisoners of war. So the rule when it comes to African culture, you don't sell somebody you capture. You use them in the service of your family, monarchy, whatever. You don't sell them, not even to another African. See, this is why that argument can't even go. You know, like, you forget the fact of selling to Arabs and Europeans. You weren't even supposed to sell them to another African. And because if they're alive, then they're worthy of eventually having their freedom. Some of these people even became high-ranking officials in these monarchies where they once were held captive before Europeans came around. So let's get that out the way. So many of the slave mentality that have the slave mentality will say, well, I shouldn't even practice African tradition. Why should I practice Vodun? Well, more than likely, those people are looking for an excuse to be anti-African anyway. So we're really not talking to you. But those that have that question casually in their head, you know, with sincerity, like, well, is it a contradiction? Blah blah blah. Now you have your answer. You know. So many of your ancestors, not just, you know, and we want to be very clear, everybody in Mobile didn't come from Benin, what is now called Benin. So we're not on here saying, oh, well, my ancestors telling you to say, well, if I'm from Mobile. No, we simply said the Clotilda, people in the Clotilda, because we know exactly where they came from. So yes, there you have it, Zomaa, where the fire does not go, created by a white Portuguese man in the city of Glewe, which was also called Wydah by them at the time. Now it's only called Wydah. How you let somebody rename your city like that is amazing. But that's something you really need to know. Also, there are other places like Goree Island, Badagry. Badagry is spelled Badagry. That is in southwest Nigeria. That is a very interesting history, which is kind of similar to the so-called Wydah history with Zomaa and whatnot, but we won't get into that. But we just feel like people really need to know that information. Our contact information is in the description and whatnot. And we say to y'all, have a blessed and beautiful and glorious day. Odigba. Oh, and we wanted to say also that entry about Zomaa, that is in our book. This book has been out about 8 years now, called Phone Bay Primer, Functional Phone Bay for Our Everyday World. It's the first book ever written outside of Benin on the language of the Ajah people. That's completely with like a primer. It's first ever written, and it happened to be written by someone who comes from the city of Mobile, Alabama, myself, where the last so-called slave ship came. And for the record, our people did not come on the Clotilda. My people didn't come on the Clotilda, because we've had people in Benin say, oh, he's a descendant of those that were on the Clotilda. No, actually, my people came to Mobile in 1823, 1822. But they came from the area that is now called Benin, yes. But my people were here way before the Clotilda situation happened. So you can find that book at restorationhealing.com. The name of the site is Kilombo Restoration and Healing. Restorationhealing.com is the site, is in the description. In that book, we talk a lot about the history. It's not just a book of definitions like Ajah words, phone words, because it's mainly the phone dialect. That's why it's called Phone Bay Primer. It's not just a book of, okay, here's the word and this is what it means. It has all the proper tones in it, has a lot of sentences in it, a lot of situational language is in there, a lot of sacred language in there, a lot of history is in there. It's a very unique, one-of-a-kind book. So, Odigba.